Hey guys, so welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to continue with our introduction to Python, and in the previous video we basically learned about the basic syntax of Python. So basically a syntax of Python consists of keywords, variables, constants and operators. So keywords are basically reserved keyword, and there are some rules to writing for variable names, that is it should not be a keyword. Then the name should not start with the number or the special character except for underscore, and the variable name should always start with a character or underscore. This is a basic summary of previous video, and then we basically learned what are the basic intent. Basically an intent basically defines a block of the Python code. So you can watch that video later on. For now, let's get on with this video. So basically there are basic data types in Python, that is integer, float, boolean. You can also consider them as a number, because integer, as you know, that those are basically just negative and positive numbers. Then float is basically decimal, like 3.2, 2.8 or any real number. And then you have boolean. Boolean is basically true and false. So basically true is 1 and false is 0. Now there are some sequential data types like string, though you can also consider string as a basic data type, but I don't actually consider string as a basic data type, because it is a sequential list of characters. That's why I don't consider string as a basic data type. And then we have list and tuple, and then we have non-sequential data types, that is dictionary. So we will discuss sequential and non-sequential data type in the later video. In this video, let's just focus on integer, float and boolean. Okay, so as we know, integer is just a positive or negative number. Then float is basically a real number, like you can also real number or decimals like 3.2, 2.8, etc. Then boolean, as I said, why I considered basic data types as number is because, now let me try this. Uh, let's say I have this. Let's say I have a variable called b is equal to true. Okay, or you can also have it as false, whatever you like to have it. And then there's in Python there are two types of data conversion, that is implicit and explicit. So normally we start with implicit, but I will just quickly show you the explicit way. So you just type in the data type you want your data type to be converted in. So I want this boolean to be converted into integer. So let's just type in int, then give this round parenthesis, and then let's just pass in the variable. Now let me run this code. And okay, let me just print the value of p using the console itself. As you can see, we got 1. So now you have to be very careful, like when you are actually converting any data type to integer or any number. Like if you want to convert a string to a number integer, then you have to be careful that string is actually an alphanumerical, that is that string should only consist of digits. Okay, right? So in case of boolean, it's true. So it's not a string, it's just a boolean variable which does not have any number, right? So how does your basically, for true and false, it's just a binary, right? It's like true is for 1, false is for 0. So let's try it again, salvi, and I misspelled the false. Never mind that. Let me just run it, print it again, and as you can see, 0. See, so basically boolean is binary data type, that is it can only have 0 or 1. So whenever you are using if statement or conditional statement to check if a variable is false or not, you are just checking if the value of that variable is empty in case of string, or in case of number if it's non-zero. So basically any non-zero number is true. So I will get back to that later on. Now let me just quickly show you uh, integers, that is 9. You can just have b that can have 8.20, Let me just run the code, and now I will just type in a. So as you can see, I got the 9. Now there's something called type. Here you can check the type of the variable. So here you can see it's integer, and then let's check the b 8.0. So now let's check type b, it's float. Okay, so now remember I talked about the term something called implicit type conversion. So now let me try this. Type of a plus b. So remember, this is basically an expression. So expression should return a a value, right? So that value will be sum of these two numbers. Okay, so remember, in the end, integer and float both are numbers, right? So now let's check what will be the data type of that. See, the float. So whenever you are adding a smaller data type with a bigger data type, it will the your interpreter or compiler will basically just promote the result data type to the higher one in order not to lose any value. How? So basically, let's say it was 9 plus 8.2. If you forcefully convert it to 8, sorry, int, then the resultant will be 17.2. But now after converting it with int, it will just take 17. That point 2 is lost. And if that point 2 was had some importance in your calculation, then it will basically mess up all the calculation, right? So you have to be very careful while you are explicitly converting the types. Okay, so this was just base overview of basic data types. Now let us see some of the most commonly used operators. So there are something called arithmetic operators. This you must know from your childhood days, that these are basically just let's say this a is equal to 7. This is an assignment operator. Let's have another assignment, that is um, 6. Okay, now let's have this print is equal to a plus b, print is equal to a minus b, print is equal to a into b, print is equal to, sorry, print not is equal to, my bad, uh, a divided by b, and then print. This is the floor sum. So let me just run and show you what do I mean. Okay, so here you can see we got the basic addition, subtraction, multiplication, and here you can see this 1.667. This is the float. Since we are dividing, so there's something called float. The interpreter saw that there's some float values, so it basically promoted the data type, resultant data type, to her higher order, that is float, and this is called implicit type conversion, right? And then here we are basically using flooring division. This will force your data result to be an integer, and it's basically going to take the floor value, that is the let's say if it's on number line, 1.16 is basically going to lie between 1 and 2, so it will take the left hand side number. Okay, so this was some basic arithmetic operators. There's nothing much to see in this. And one more operator is basically, let's say a star star 2. This two times multiplication basically means the raise to the power. So here I'm raising the power to 2. Let's say 3. And you can see 343, that is 7 cube. Okay. So this was just basic arithmetic operators. Now there's something called logical operators, that those are just basic logical, that's logical, right? So those are basically and or true or not, sorry. Okay, so these are basically used along with the conditional statements. So let's just have a basic conditional statement, that is let's have a is equal to 8, b is equal to 8. Okay, if a and b, print, let's print true. Okay, so let's try. And as you can see, we got our output as true, right? So how these are not Boolean data types. Still, how did it work with this logical operator? It should work with Booleans, right? See, as I said in the starting of the video, basically Boolean is in the end just zeros and one, and all the non-zero number are considered as true. So now let me just do it, make it 0, b as 0, and let me run again. As you can see, we did not get the value, answer true. Why? Because of now b is equal to 0, this is true, and this is a 0 value, so it's false. So basically, whenever if statement is checking for any value, it is just checking for non-zero or non-empty in case of string or list. Okay, now let's move on to or. So as you know, or basically just returns if any of the value is true. Okay, now let us move on to not. Now here you can see when I used not, I am getting an invalid syntax. Why? Because not is basically just a unary operator. So unary operators are basically the operators which requires only one operand to work on. So not is one example of a unary operator. There are few, and also there's something called binary operators. So binary operators are the operators which require two operands to work on. Those are addition, multiplication, subtraction. There are many. So now let me just run this. So as you can see, b is a 0, so it means that it's not, right? So it is just checking for the negation of b. So in case of negation of b, that is 0, so the 0 is negated to 1. Okay, now let's move on to the relational data types. So now what is relational? Relational is basically getting the relation between two operands. So one operation is basically less than, right, greater than equal to, or less than equal to respectively. Then we have something called equal to. So remember, when you are doing the equal to, you use two equal to signs, because two equal to signs means that you are comparing two variables. You are comparing LHS and RHS. But in case of single is equal to, you're assigning. It's an assignment operator. And in case of double is equal to, it's relational operator, and you're comparing the two numbers. Okay. So these are not equal, so I did not get any message. So this was some basic data types, and some of the like few of the operations you can do on them. So they are like arithmetic operations, logical operations, and relational operations, right? So this is it for this video. I hope you find this video helpful. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more. I will be bringing more videos like this, so make sure to stay tuned. Goodbye.